Hello guys and welcome back to another Blender tutorial. My name is John, and in our last video we made this little setup here with a cup and a table. We used a cylinder and we modeled this this cup, and we used a plane and we modeled this little tabletop here. Okay, so in the last video I mentioned that we'll be going over more on materials. I'll be showing you guys how to make things look more realistic. Okay, so let me introduce you to something called UV unwrapping. Now, there's many different ways to add texture to an object, but the way that I find the best is also the more advanced. So if you have a notebook nearby, I'd suggest writing down some of these steps because it might be difficult to remember. Okay, so in this I think my plan will be, is we'll make this plane here into like a wood like table, and then for the cup we'll just add I don't know. I have a ton of textures on my computer, so um, I suggest going on like Google or Bing and looking up textures. So if you want to pause this video and go ahead and do that, I would search for maybe like um, wood texture, and saving it to your computer, and any other texture you'd like to use for your cup. Okay, and we'll fix this shine too. We'll see how it looks. Okay, so once you've done that, we'll continue on. Great, so you have your materials, and let's get down to it. So first things first, we're going to add a texture to our table here. And in order to do that, we typically unwrap our object. Now, objects in Blender are typically unwrapped for us, but let's take a look at this texture paint tab up here. So it doesn't really look like too much. Actually, let me go back here. I'm going to tab into edit mode and press A to select my plane here. Then I'm going to go back to texture mode, texture paint. Okay, so it's hard to tell, but let's just go back here for a second, and we'll select everything, and we're going to hit U on our keyboard, and it's going to bring up this UV mapping screen. And what we'll do is we'll use this Smart UV project here. We're going to leave everything the same and press OK. And now, yes, so that's exactly what we needed to do. So now if you look over on the texture paint here, we have all these little extra boxes here. Here's a box here, there's a big large box here, and there's some smaller boxes here. If I'm correct, these are the top and bottom of our our, our, our little plane here, table, whatever you want to call it, and our four edges. This couldn't tell you. So anyway, it sets it up in a way that lets us paint. And what we're going to do is we want to click on New up here, and we'll call this wooden table. And for the color, we want to make it match the color of our table as much as possible. I haven't even gone through my wooden textures. I'm probably just going to pick a random one. So I'm just gonna pick this random brown color here and press OK. So you could see that um, our texture paint is now brown, and you're probably wondering why it hasn't changed over here. It's because um, we need to save this image. So if you go up to image and hit save as, um, you'll want to save this somewhere on your computer that you'll remember where it's at. So for example, I typically have a folder that I call like texture paint textures or something like that. Um, and I save them all inside. I'll just put this somewhere. Let's see. I don't think you can see my window right now, so it's probably just like a moving mouse, so you can disregard that. Okay, so now that that's saved, what we want to do is go down to this tab here. This is the texture properties, and you're gonna hit, actually, before we jump to that, we're gonna go up to this little active tool workspace settings. And in the mode for material, we're gonna go to single image. And we're gonna go to the little drop down here, and we're gonna click on wooden table. And you can see it now reflects to the brown color over here. Now we're gonna go to textures tab here and click on new and go to open. And once this opens up, you're gonna actually find that wooden texture that you downloaded. And I'm gonna go through and look at my wooden textures. I have a couple here. I don't know if I want to use that one. Let's see. That's not it doesn't really match our color though. Let's see. No. That's more like a floor, not a table. Well, it doesn't matter all too much. I just want to kind of get the idea. We'll use this one. Doesn't matter too much. So once you have chosen your wood here, we're gonna actually paint on this side. Now there is a way to paint on this side, but it requires to be set up in the shading, and we'll get to that shortly. But we're gonna start painting. So what I did was I hit there's the little square brackets. We'll change the radius. Now the screencast keys won't show up on anything other than layout, which is unfortunate. But this is what I'm doing as a shortcut key. Now we can just start painting this on here like this. It's just until we get at the wooden look that we're looking for. Now if yours looks pretty blocky, like there's this like line here, and you don't want that, what I found to work was to make the brush smaller, and it'll like just make it look more realistic. And it doesn't look too bad on here either. Okay, so once you're done with that, we want to actually resave our image. So just hit save, and it'll save it. Okay. Now, let's go back to layout, for example, and you'll notice that all of our texturing just went away, and it's because um, it's about the shading part right here that I mentioned just a bit ago. Um, but before we do that, I want to show you guys a really great um, add-on called the Node Wrangler, which is going to make our process much easier. So if you go up to Edit and Preferences and go to Add-ons, just search in here Node Wrangler, and you want to make sure this is checked. And once that's checked, just go down here and hit Save Preferences, and it's going to save this add-on um, in an on. It'll be on every single time you use Blender from now on. So once that's on, essentially what Node Wrangler does is it gives you a list of commands that you can click on your keyboard, and it'll like add like features and whatnot. So one of the good features for this is if you click on once you're in the shading and you go and you click on your principled BSDF shader, one of the really handy commands is Control T, and Control T brings in this chain of nodes, brings in a texture coordinate node, a mapping node, and an image texture node. And what this node setup does will let you open an image and texturize it. Okay, so we're going to open up our texture that we just made. So mine is wooden table, and we'll click open. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. And we want to also begin this last mode here, the rendered view. Now, if we go back, we can see that it totally looks the way we intended it to. Cool, does not look bad whatsoever. Alright, and I think I mentioned about the lighting on the table. I think the lighting actually looks pretty good for on my end, but if it doesn't look, if it looks pretty weird on your end, what you'll want to do is go down to roughness. If you change the roughness to something lower, it'll be even more shiny. If you raise it up, it'll be less shiny. You don't want to make it up all the way because then I don't know, it doesn't look as real. So try to make it, yeah, it's just some light bouncing in there. Definitely looks much more real. And you'll want to do the same to the cup if you want to go ahead and follow those directions that we just did on the cup, and we'll go from there. I'll just do this really quick on my end so it doesn't drag the video out much longer. And if you have any problems, just comment down below and hopefully I can help you out. Okay guys, welcome back, and this is my piece that I just made. I added a texture over the glass, but I also added some transparency, and you can see it kind of looks kind of very easy. Cycles renderer, more realistic, but it's much slower. In Eevee this entire time, and this is what it looks like in Eevee. It doesn't look too great, but since Eevee doesn't support transparency and whatnot, so I jumped over to cycles. This is my little I added some extra stuff that I didn't show you guys, and I will actually be going over. I'll be doing a little tutorial on shaders and other things. So you'll be able to do this as well. Just trying to make this look a little bit nicer in here. Okay, so this is the setup. If you want to go ahead and do that, you can add new new nodes through this little add button here. I just recommend just using the search. I have two mixer nodes in here, so you just type in um, mix shader, and add them in that way, and you just connect them together. If you want to copy this, go for it. Just make sure that you are in cycles render when you do this. Okay, I think that's a wrap up. I recommend just practicing that, adding shapes to your, adding random shapes and adding textures to that. Just kind of keep on doing it over and over again um, until you have this all patted down and memorized. Okay, so I think this is going to be a little wrap up of this tutorial. In the next tutorial, um, I think we'll actually get down to sculpting in the next one. Now that I feel that you understand shapes, we'll begin molding them. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And if this video helped you at all, please drop a like and stay tuned for the next video. Have a great day.